The boys in the band. It's funny, the older you get, the more real the memories of childhood become. In my mind, I can still see the faces. Hey, they were a lot younger then. Hear the music, or at least we called it music, and even smell the smells of my barn. It is a moment that is forever frozen in time, but a moment I cherish. Back then, I still had my whole life ahead of me. Now, I have much more behind me than left in front of me. Perspectives change. Life happens. Things get complicated. But the memories of a simpler time, when all was right with the world, are priceless. I wrote what you've just heard in response to an email sent to me by my oldest son, Jonathan. He attached a song by Confederate Railroad to the email that he wanted me to listen to about some aspiring young rock and rollers who were honing their musical skills in the workshop behind their parents' house. He said, "It reminds me of my youth in the barn. Perhaps it will remind you of your barn when you were an aspiring rock and roller." And yes, I know that may astound some of you listening to this devotion today, but there was a time in my life when I was an aspiring young rock and roller. Being born into Bill and Betty McCullough's family meant that you would learn to play a musical instrument, period. No questions asked. You see, Mama played the piano and Daddy played anything with strings on it, literally. Therefore, the question was not if my siblings and I would learn to play a musical instrument, only which one. I started taking piano lessons and did really well as long as the instruction books contained numbers above the notes, identifying which finger on which hand was supposed to play which note at what time. Eventually, I graduated to a book where the numbers were removed. All those dots looked to me like somebody had taken a chicken, dipped its feet in ink, and let it walk on the paper. I was clueless. So I took up the guitar, and Daddy and my brother taught me how to play by ear. And by the way, in the latter years of her life, if we ever wanted to make Mama happy, all we children had to do was show up at the house or later on at the nursing home, and as she called it, make music. She was queen for the day when we did this. Oh, but I do digress. Armed and dangerous with the knowledge, limited as it may have been at the time, of how to play a guitar, Providence brought a family of brothers across my life path. It was the Matthews boys, Steve, Ray, and Darrell. We met by chance at some teenage party somewhere that somebody was having. I think they were supposed to be playing for the party. I asked if I could sit in on a song with them. The fact that I could play one song all the way through wowed them. They invited me right there on the spot to be a part of their band. This began a lifelong friendship. Our practice sessions were held in their parents' barn. The barn was situated in the woods, approximately 500 yards behind their house. I pity those poor neighbors who had to endure our practice sessions. What we lacked in talent, we compensated for with volume. We spent countless afternoons and nights in that barn honing our musical talents and forging friendships that have spanned a lifetime. It's funny, in my mind's eye, I can still see where Darrell set up his drums, where Steve stood with his bass guitar, where Ray stood, and where I stood beside him. I can still smell the smells of that old barn and see the snake that came slithering out of the rafters one night, promptly ending a practice session. I can still hear the music, missed notes and all, and above all, I can still remember Mrs. Matthews unscrewing the fuse that controlled the power to the barn around 10 p.m. each night, abruptly ending our practice sessions. It's incredible how quickly things stop when everything goes pitch black. The years have come and gone. Life and death have happened. Time and circumstances have separated us. And even though I fully realize that the Matthews boys are grown men with children and grandchildren of their own, when I think of them, I still see those young men in the barn. Ain't it funny how some moments and seasons of our lives are frozen in time. And by the way, although we never achieved our goal of becoming a famous rock and roll band, after God saved our souls, and with the addition of another young man, Hewell Bowen, we did become a pretty good Southern gospel singing group. Life has a way of coming full circle. You may have noticed that in his email to me, Jonathan said, "It reminds me of my youth in the barn." Yep, you guessed it. As a child, I taught my son how to play the guitar. I remember distinctly, he came to me one night and said, "Dad, I want you to show me how to play all the lead breaks on the guitar." He, too, aspired to become a famous rock and roller. I told him, "Son, I'll teach you how to play the lead breaks after you master the fundamentals of the guitar." He pouted up a little, but eventually got down to the business of learning the fundamentals. Later, after practicing one evening with his band in my barn, he exclaimed to me in exasperation, "Dad, I just can't believe it. All those other guys know how to do is play lead breaks. None of them really knows how to play the guitar." And guess what? When he set up his band in my barn, he had to run an extension cord from the plug-in in the kitchen. Guess what Mary Ann did each night about 10 p.m.? You got it. She pulled the plug, and the practice session magically ended. Undoubtedly, each of you hearing this devotion has similar memories. It may not be a band. It may be something totally different. But the point is that God gave us a wonderful gift when he gave us the gift of memory. As I record this devotion, I am a 70-year-old, balding, overweight husband, father of 3, pawpaw of 5 grandchildren, and a big pawpaw to 2 great-grandchildren, and I don't like today's rock and roll music. But because of God's wonderful gift of memory, in a moment I can transform myself back to that tall, skinny teenager with a head full of hair, spending time with friends in a barn, mastering such timeless classics as Johnny B. Good, Long Train Running, Smoke on the Water, Hold On, I'm Coming, and countless others. Now, I'm sure that some of you here in this devotion are wondering, what's the spiritual application? The spiritual application is this. God gave us a wonderful gift called memory. He gave it to us so that we can revisit from time to time old acquaintances, places, situations, and times from our past. However, we must realize that he only intended for us to visit there occasionally. Life cannot be lived there. Life must be lived here in the present. As good as yesterday was, it is today that matters. Many of us need to realize that we are living the good old days of our lives right now. Mentally, we need to take a close look around us and take a mental snapshot of where we are today. For the day is coming when we will fondly remember today. Perspectives change. Life happens. Things get complicated. But the memories of a simpler time when all was right with the world are priceless. Lord, would you help us as listeners to be reminded of the fact that while yesterday was good, the memories are precious. Lord, life is to be lived today. We have to live in the present. Don't let us become so enamored with how wonderful things were in the past that we miss the wonder of today. Today, Lord, remind us that it's today that matters. And I ask this in your name, amen.